60 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 10. Part man,
part machine,
or pod. Would you like to lead us off in the minute?
This minute begins with Dick Jones saying, "But at security contests, we believe an efficient police force is only part of the solution," and ends with everyone backing away from Ed 209.
Well, let's face it, wouldn't you do that as well? I mean, although, no, you might...
Well, yeah, it's scary as shit.
Or you could just run up and hug it because it's a big puppy. But more importantly, we have a special guest.
I mean, I do love me some big robots. Anyway, yeah, we're not alone. We're not alone here. We're joined by someone for once.
It is my pleasure to introduce you all to Luke Milton of, let's see, Dungeons and Drongos, the Fruitless Pursuit cast, Book Was Better, Scarjoke. You guys have so many more podcasts than me, but Please say hello, Luke.
You realise, Connor, that when you described the minute, the first 4 words you said included dick, butt, and ass, which is only one letter away from ass.
And Jones.
And Jones.
Yeah, that's the dirtiest one.
Yeah.
And there's also a Johnson in this, in the room of characters here. So, yeah.
It's the OCP ballroom. It's full of dicks.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yeah. Well, hello. What a pleasure.
Yeah, this is why the expertise of Luke Milton is specifically a particular brand of humor, let's just say.
That's me just analysing the first minute of your podcast, let alone,
yes, thank you.
You know, the attention I'm going to give to the minute of RoboCop here.
Going to be an interesting minute. Or at least the recording's going to be an interesting minute, because realistically speaking, not much happens. But we do get the reveal of Ed 209, which is pretty cool.
In all its stop-motion glory.
Yeah, before we get to that, isn't it a tradition that we ask our guests how they first interacted with the movie?
Yeah, so what's your history with RoboCop?
Put it in there, press play, watched it.
Thrilling stuff.
When? Who? Why? What? Where?
Yeah, no, when it was on video, so probably not far after release.
So about 1989?
No, probably, yeah, I guess so. And I watched it with I think my stepfather had rented it and I got to watch it. But then I significantly remember seeing RoboCop 2 in the cinema with a whole bunch of school friends, and we were not of age to be able to see it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been.
And it was the first time we went in and just went, "Can we have tickets to RoboCop 2?" And they said, "Sure." And we watched that, and that was a lot of fun. So I loved it as a kid. I thought it was amazing. I still love it.
There's a thing with RoboCop 2 is that I think it was either an M or an R on video, and it was a different rating in the movies. It's one of those weird movies that happened with, so I can't remember which one's which. I say that, and I've got the VHS literally directly behind me, so yeah, it must have been like an M or something back in the cinemas.
Oh, no, don't turn around and look. Just speculate. Don't ruin the surprise.
No, it's literally a short tilt away. And it's like, oh yeah, there's an R on the VHS. So
there you go.
Yeah.
But I know the original RoboCop was a hard R. I definitely should not have been watching that when I was like 10 years old. But I loved it.
I never got to see any inappropriate movies as a child. I don't have any of those stories. I was so sheltered. Although what was the third Indiana Jones? The Last Crusade. Watched that with my brother when we were very little, and we were screaming when the stop motion melty. Well, the old face. Yeah, the rapid aging.
Oh no, rapid ages. Yeah, that was the Last Crusade. Yeah, I think even melty face freaked me out when I was a kid.
Yep.
Still love those movies.
Yes.
I'm a quiet defender of the fourth one. Just a little bit.
I have not seen it since I saw it in cinemas. Maybe I should return to it.
It's probably not aged well because it also has Shia LaBeouf, so that's something you have to investigate.
Oh, I mean, I have already endured 3 Transformers movies with Shia LaBeouf.
Well, don't be knocking Shia LaBeouf. He's done some amazing stuff.
Yeah, he's amazing, and it's not his fault. It's absolutely not. And
the best thing he's ever done is the musical.
And yes, there is. He's a legend. I freaking love him.
Look, I could spend a long time here defending Shia LaBeouf. I could tell you why Kingdom of the Crystal Skull works and doesn't work, but I thought we were here to talk
RoboCop.
I'm gonna blame this tangent on Simon. I didn't do it.
Yeah. Blame it on me.
Simon just wanted to share the controversial opinion that he still likes Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Everybody likes Raiders of the Lost Ark, Simon. It's
Raiders
fine.
is uncontroversial. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that's controversial.
Yeah, it's got giant ants, and that's
And I
cool.
protected it. I said I actually like that film.
Yeah. All right. So RoboCop.
Fight me. Robocop.
RoboCop. It's Roberto Copperto.
Robert
I keep putting that
Cop
in the
2.
tags on Instagram.
Now, I think there is a hell of a lot happening in this clip.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I only just watched it just seconds before we did this. One, it's the most 80s corporate craziness ever. And that is so a mirror of what's happening today.
Yeah.
Because Trump still thinks like that this is the world, that like he's in a
true.
Paul Verhoeven film, and that you can swag
Unironically
around.
thinks it's a Paul Verhoeven film.
Yeah, and it's
That's
got
the
all
scary
that sort
part.
of greed is good corporation kind of thing happening. What I love straight away is the absolute fascination in the power status of televisions. Like the television fetishism here is huge. People thought that televisions
Yeah.
were a really important thing. If you had 3 TVs, 4 TVs, that was really important. This guy's got like, you can't even count all the
Yeah.
TVs.
Well, it's that great thing where, you know, that time in the 80s where the actually making the bigger TV out of tinier little TVs was that wow thing. You know, you go into like say Myers in the city and they have one of those kind of displays and you're like, whoa, and they all sync up.
And you see it everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
It's pulling an Ozymandias, as I like to call
well,
it.
we watched the 90s Ninja Turtle movie the other week, and Shredder has that
Nice.
set up in his
Yeah.
place.
Nice.
It's like, why does he need that? There was this idea of, wow, I could watch all the channels at the same time. Like, nobody was predicting, like, no one predicted flat screen TVs. And
Why not just one giant screen, guys?
Or even, no one's gone, hey, wouldn't it be cool in the future if we had one small little TV that fit in our pocket that we would stare into all the time and could watch anything ever, whenever we wanted?
There is one thing that predicted gigantic flat screen TVs, and that was Star Trek. For no other reason than we can get the damn drop in there.
Well, shit. That's exactly what I was hoping to spare you from.
Okay.
Well, yeah, there is the view screen. Yeah, we have to inevitably mention Star Trek and Transformers every episode.
Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?
Okay. But Star Trek wasn't a
Fuck, I did mention Transformers already. Oh god, I didn't mean to.
conflux of, like, 80s greed and 80s values. Because, I mean, all the movies in that, it's interesting. Like, if you listen to the commentary track on Back to the Future, and at the end, the director's saying, like, this was such an 80s thing, like, we wouldn't do this now, but the whole idea of status at the end of it was the car and the girl, and, you know, that was the idea of success, and RoboCop certainly ties into all of that. You got all these TVs. I don't know how, like, we don't get to meet the guy at OCP who has to sync up all these TVs and decide what's showing and hang out with Dick Jones talking about what's going to be behind him when he talks. And
Is that in the novelization?
The AV Guy spin-off is got to be the next RoboCop remake movie.
there's a definite bit of like theatre happening here, isn't there? I mean, he's definitely putting on the performance, and just the 80s like boardroom thing as well. I love that. You guys tell me the name of the guy at the table that sniffs.
Oh, the old man. He is literally just called
right.
the old man.
No. The guy that sniffs.
Oh, no, sorry, no. Old man scratches his nose. I got a note on here somewhere. The guy sniffs. Bob Norton.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which again is showing that he's coked up.
Oh, right.
Oh yes, we got some good coke action later on in the movie.
Yeah, but this foreshadows that. Like, he's sniffing at the meeting, just showing everybody sitting there in the boardroom, and he's already, like, taken some coke to even get through this. So, totally 80s moment.
I hadn't even considered that. That's brilliant.
But I love the way the camera sort of pans away from this grid of TVs to a door which is essentially square grids. And this idea of all these things that we're speculating on the TV, automation, space, etc., etc. Suddenly, we're now at this panel of little prosceniums, and that's going to open, and everything we're talking about is actually going to step out of the TV world and into the room.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's the cool moment. Is that Dick Jones says that this is the future of law enforcement, and the advertising around RoboCop at the time, because I actually remember this as I was rewatching this minute. It's the first time I actually thought about this since literally I first saw the movie, because the tagline for RoboCop was the future of law enforcement. So when Dick Jones opened the doors and it's like, and this is the future of law enforcement, you think, oh, this must be RoboCop, and then this gigantic hulking machine is just like, what the fuck? I love that reveal.
Yeah, he's doing an infomercial, and I love that you see this sudden switch happen in the creative behind the project as well. I think because you've got something that's very Paul Verhoeven happening here in the boardroom, and the Coke and this infomercial thing, and obviously RoboCop has all the commercials tied into it as well, and now Dick Jones is doing a commercial. But then you have just that wonderful shot of the panel on Ed 209's feet kind of locking down, which is such a the effects nerd guys moment, the model shop people, the people that have really thought about how all this works and their love for bringing this thing to life. And I think it's that combination of those two things that makes this film memorable, in the same way that Star Wars, you can feel the love of the design and the way things work and everything like that, and the way that all these special effects people came in and took on a challenge and did something special with it that was beyond even the scope of what George Lucas was planning to do.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Yeah, I love the animation on Ed 209. There's just so much attention to detail, the walk cycle, every little...
It's Phil Tippett, isn't it?
Yeah, the dinosaur supervisor.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that meme.
I thought that name sounded familiar.
Yeah, actually, I've got that written in my notes. So there was actually 2 scales worth of Ed 209. There was the big static prop. So, like when Dick Jones walks in front of Ed 209, that's not comped together. They built a gigantic 1-to-1 Ed 209, and then the smaller one, which they then use stop motion. So the big prop was created by Craig Hayes and Paula Lucusi. And yeah, Phil Tapper was responsible for the miniatures. And it's no CGI. This is way before CGI. And I still think it looks amazing. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit janky.
And it's so seamless, because I didn't notice until in a couple of minutes from now, when there's all this smoke coming out of Ed 209 and the actors are walking past it, they're actually pushing the smoke around. And went, oh, that's actually physically there. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's suspension of disbelief as well, and that's something certainly when you approach these movies as a younger person that you just buy into. I mean, it is a stop motion effect, and you think that the way that people, and it's got all the jerkiness and sort of charm associated with it, but we go into the story and we accept that, whereas that's why I can't stand everyone bitching about CGI. Oh, this is bad. It's just like, what, you want everything to be like puppets and plasticine and everything?
CGI is a tool.
It shouldn't matter what it is. It's more about, like, does it draw you out of the story or into the story? I think
that's exactly right.
Like, I believe Gonzo is real. I can't imagine that there is this guy Dave Goles that is hanging around underneath him. So it's not about the...
That's a bit of cognitive dissonance, but...
Well, it's not about the way that it's executed, really.
Yes,
it's about
exactly.
It's about the whole package.
Yeah, that came up a lot in Prometheus, because that was a movie that was criticized for having too much CGI. Turns out most of it was practical, and they just used CGI to blend things. So we're at a point now where people can't even tell the difference, but they'll bitch about it anyway.
People who complain about things like too much CGI are lunatics anyway. Like, they're not people you want to hang out with.
No, it's also true. The problem is most of those people who complain don't, or at least can't spot the differences, and that's usually very telling, because so pretty much post episode 1 there was this kind of big thing of like, oh wow, CGI can do all this, so we're just going to rely heavily on CGI. But now it's actually pulled back, and practical filmmaking has returned, more or less, because they just start blending the two, and that's the perfect way to do it. Use your tools.
I just don't think people are good at articulating what they like and don't like. They might have this sort of disconnection to a scene, and they think, oh, well, it's because there's a CGI monkey here. But I don't think that's necessarily what the real issue is.
It's about using the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what that is, just pick the right one.
Like, it's funny how I believe there was a bit of a. There's always some bloody nerd rage when a new technology is introduced into cinema. Like I think it was digital color editing was controversial for the longest time until people went, "Oh yeah, we've been doing color grading for the birth of color. So what's the difference? It's now on a computer."
Yeah.
People are morons.
Yeah, there you go, listeners. You're morons. I can
Yeah,
say that
you're
because
all
they're not my listeners, but the listeners to
I mean, you called your listeners belligerent for many years, so...
the listeners of 60 Seconds to Comply.
Yep.
Bunch of nitpicking morons that don't know their asses from their
Hey! The
elbows.
two hosts are nitpicking morons, so we have.
Yep, you guys do.
So, I've got some costume notes, particularly with this one woman who's next to Bob Morton.
Yes!
And I'm always distracted by her, because she looks like, I don't know, like Marlene Dietrich without the top hat, but she's got this big old white bow and basically a tailcoat. It is the most over-the-top thing I have ever seen.
I like that the woman, I think it is that same woman, that when Ed 9 comes in, sort of sits forward in a seat like, ooh.
Yes.
You know, in the same way that someone might react to like a sports car or something. There's this kind of like, oh, you've got these two big, powerful guns. Now I'm listening. Which is such a fucking dirty 80s American thing.
She's got a mecha fetish, what can we say?
Yeah.
No, my drunk Shimoda in this scene is the guy who gets the rolled up paper tube at the end and starts holding it like a lightsaber, like it's going to be defending against the bloody Ed 209 guns.
What is that going to do?
Oh, and let's hear it for the scientist that wheel in that little trolley, which has zero, like, doesn't look like it has any practical function. And is just such a great contrast of, here are all these, like, power dudes in their suits. I mean, Dick Jones is practically doing this whole infomercial with his, like, erect penis in his hand. And then, here are those nerds that are coming in and wheeling in this thing. And, don't have any link to Ed 209 in the future, do they? Like, he's not out guarding the police precinct with these dudes with their little trolley.
We don't see Ed 209 in the wild, so there could always just be a guy with a little trolley around the corner.
Yeah, true.
Tiring the fuck out of it.
I imagine it's like, you know when there's things like at amusement parks where there's the bin that talks, and there's somebody like with a microphone always watching, like 20 meters away. I reckon one of those scientists does Ed 209's voice into a little hand mic.
Yeah, that's how they do a lot of the droids in, like, 501st and that. There's usually not a stormtrooper, there's usually an Imperial trooper or a rebel off in the corner with their hands behind their back, hiding the remote control.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about, in these minutes, I don't know why, but it keeps reminding me of Iron Man 2. But Iron Man 2 is kind of the story of RoboCop, but without the satire. It's quite Randian. Is it just me? Am I making that connection on my own?
I honestly can't remember that much of Iron Man 2.
Oh, well, let me fill you in. Tony Stark goes on a long quest for strawberries.
I remember wanting to drink while watching that.
Yeah, I watched all of them, all the Marvel movies leading up to Endgame. So yeah, it's fresh in my mind and fresh-ish. And yeah, it really does feel like that idea of creating this technology and sort of that corporate ownership. There is government intervention. The government tries to intervene, but Tony Stark's like, no, it's mine. Fuck yeah, America. I should be able to do whatever I want. Freedom.
And it's a great 2.5-hour movie with 2 action sequences.
I can't even remember the final action sequence. I was kind of checked out by that. It was not a bad film, but I was just like going, just get on with it.
It sure did happen.
Yeah, it definitely was a movie.
I think half an hour of it is Sam Rockwell ad-libbing.
Yeah, he was probably the best things in it.
That was the other thing. I said Dick Jones, Sam Rockwell. There's a bit of a connection there for me.
No, I'm just imagining Sam Rockwell in the Dick Jones prequel TV series.
Oh, yeah, yes, please. I'm down. I'm ready for this.
Don't know if you heard about that, Luke. They're talking about doing a prequel to RoboCop as a TV series, based all on Dick Jones.
Yeah, right.
So who would play the old man?
A young man?
Yeah.
It would definitely be a younger man.
Well, younger man. Yeah, do a freaking Peter Wayland, bloody Guy Pearce from Prometheus. Yep.
Oh no. Sorry, I'm having flashbacks to that old man makeup. Anyway,
I've had to look at it for 3 years.
Well, that's such a unique one, isn't it? Because you've got an old man makeup, but you never use the person as a young man.
They almost did, and then they deleted that scene. And I feel like when you get to that point, you just got to keep it in, man. You made the commitment.
You do a sudden like Christopher Plummer replacement, like they did with Kevin Spacey in that movie about the ransom.
All the money in the world. Yeah. Which actually that worked way better than I thought it would.
So my only thought about replacing Ransom is The Big Lebowski, The Dirty Laundry. Oh god, that's a stretch.
Oh right, yeah.
The note that cracked me up is when Dick Jones says that, inferring, we're talking about RoboCop, he says the superior apparently reflexes to use them, and like going, did he actually look at Ed 209 when he talking about superior reflexes?
The design is so impractical. I can't see this actually fulfilling the job it's made to do. It reminds me of, okay, this is super obscure and I've gone into all sorts of, like, Japanese mecha anime. Anyway, there's one called Brave Police J. Decker, and he's made by the police and this Japanese company, and he's supposed to be a robot cop. Thing is, though, he's probably about 15 feet tall, at least. So, you've disabled your robot, effectively. It can't do its job.
You can't get into a door.
Can't get through a door. Yeah,
but that's the built-in joke, isn't it, with Ed 209, though? I mean, because he does prove to be completely impractical later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's intentional, whereas so many other shows, like J. Decker, they just play it straight. There's no irony. They're just like, yeah, 15-foot tall robot cop. I don't see a problem with this.
It is the perfect symbolism of corporate excess to the, taking an extremely dumb, overpriced solution to a very simple problem. Well, it's a problem they're also causing, but that's beside the point. And I think that's why kind of RoboCop does work a little bit better, at least as a visual aspect. It's like, you're not taking this big, bulky thing out into the streets. You basically got a guy that looks like a just slightly taller cop.
Mm. Yeah, well, he's just a turret.
Yes.
I mean, like, Ed 209, people, they've already invented tanks and things, so,
It's a big old chicken walker.
Well, I do have a note about that. So I'm just looking up something. Go on. So in the audio commentary, Ed Neumeier actually talks about there's a connection inbuilt into this movie to Vietnam, specifically the military-industrial complex. OCP is supposed to be reflective of the escalating military during and after Vietnam, and to the point where one of those scientists you're talking about, his name is Dr. McNamara. And that's actually based on Robert McNamara, who was the Secretary of Defense during Vietnam. And Ed 209 specifically, his design was supposed to resemble a Huey gunship, which was one of the helicopters they used in Vietnam. So, like most of this movie, it's all based around lampooning and satiring the military complex, the corporate complex. And I'm having a look at this picture of this Huey, and I just don't see it. So it's got the wrong picture up on Google. But
well, I mean, just looking at a picture of Ed 209, it's like a cockpit with two big guns on the side. I mean, it is not hard to imagine that helicopter feel.
So there's like this nose. There's this nose section on the Huey that's kind of like the head of Ed 209. But it doesn't have big gunships. It doesn't have big guns onto the side.
Yeah, but I mean, Millennium Falcon was inspired by a hamburger. I wouldn't go looking for the pickle.
No, he's in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Why was my first freaking image was Han Solo and Grimace in the cockpit? Gotta Photoshop that, put it in the show notes.
By all means. No, I'm just imagining a hairy purple triangle. And I'm also, I actually am going back to Thumb Wars.
What
Okay.
even is a grimace?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking now, thinking of Simon imagining a purple hairy triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called my penis. Anyway.
Yeah, there we go. Robocop.
And Dorian Poontang.
60 seconds to comply.
Lately, it has kind of devolved into a porno cast.
Sorry, Arcturian. Sorry if I know geeks are gonna hear this. It's Arcturian Poon from Aliens. I had to just because Andorians from Star Trek and they probably got white pubic hair. So you know.
Oh god.
Anyway, I've just derailed everything because.
No. Star Trek is fair game on this podcast. We've already established this.
True.
Have we done this minute?
I think we've done this minute. And then this gaslighting RoboCop.
Alex, how do you feel? I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
It's just Murphy's walking into precinct, and then Chief's like, "That's enough," and he's basically like, 2 steps away from having to hand in his badge and his gun, and he's all like angsty and shit. And fuck this movie. Yep.
My only note for the gaslighting is I'll get this in the right tone. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. Oh god, I've forgotten how much I kind of loathe the reboot Alex Murphy. He's just such a tool, and I completely forgot that this guy's Rick Flag.
I like him in Altered Carbon. I like Joel Kinnaman in other things. It's just, oof, not this.
Yeah, I mean, what is it with modern day movies and making you hate your protagonist?
Yeah.
I don't get it. And even Lewis is a bit of a...
That we, for continuity purposes, if anyone cares, I mean, it does come up in the next few minutes, but Lewis, who is a man in this, he was injured in whatever arrest this is that they're talking about, so, yeah. I mean, again, this is main problem. You're 10 minutes into this movie, and we haven't even seen Lewis, and isn't the Lewis that we know and love, and she's not kicking someone's ass. So, what's even the point? Yeah,
you've basically just neutered Lewis and not even made Lewis... you've not even made Murphy a character you want to know and empathize. Is this the reason why... Oh, God.
What's the opposite of castrating?
I'm going to use a really, really... lame
sticking another dick to the end of your dick.
I was going to use a really bad high school joke. It's called a strapodictomy.
Oh! yeah, because now Lewis is a dude, so yeah, there you go.
I think I just realized something. One of the reasons I wasn't keen on this movie is that I just don't empathize with Alex Murphy, and I think the problem is one of the emotional cores of the remake is that you're supposed to kind of... You're in this journey where Murphy is slowly getting his humanity erased, which, again, I think is a really bad misstep compared to the original movie. And in this movie, I just don't care about the dude.
Well, and the biggest issue is that they've reframed it almost as if it's a character study or it's very character-focused, and they've got nothing to back that up with.
Yeah, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
I don't even care enough to talk about it.
It's fine, it's almost done, Luke. We're almost...
Oh, I'm going to say, geez, is this the shortest episode we ever had? We've got a vamp. No, I'm kidding.
So anyway, in Transformers: The Lost Light series, there's a...
No, the problem is that, let's be brutally honest, the juicy stuff, the stuff we're here for, comes up in minute 12. We're at minute 10, we've still got, so much just nothing going on. But at least the next minute it starts to get interesting. But it's a good setup scene, and that's the other thing we're talking about when it comes to comparing these two movies. by this point, we've introduced our main protagonists, our main antagonists. We've got the story finally propelling forward. In the remake, we're only just now, 10 minutes in, meeting the character we're supposed to relate to, our protagonist, the guy we're supposed to care about. And the first thing he's doing is just acting like an ass to his boss. It's like...
Yeah, I mean, he comes storming in, he's all sulky, whereas Alex Murphy in the original, you sort of get a sense, there's something different about this guy. You're kind of drawn to him. He has this quiet energy, whereas there's all this chaos going on around him at the precinct. So you really do focus on this guy, and you're drawn to every little detail of his performance.
Even when he's trying to big dick Lewis, which just came out really wrong when I say it like that. But,
big dog.
So big dogging... even when he's big dogging Lewis in the original movie, it's play. You can see that he's basically sizing it up, and almost that point where Lewis clearly doesn't...
Why do you keep making penis analogies?
All right, look, you guys are drawing me into this now because I can only hear so much before I have to. One, I think there's a kind of medium ground here. Like, we've all watched RoboCop a lot of times, the original. In some cases, grown up on it. I don't think someone necessarily watching it for the first time now would be talking about how just captivating Peter Weller is and how, like, you're just transfixed and drawn in and everything. I mean,
you don't know.
yeah, someone might be, but
let us on a postcard,
please. That's coloured by, and then at the same time, I don't watch that minute of Kinnaman and go, oh god, this asshole. I just think it's bland. I think I didn't read it like that. It's been a long time since I saw the movie. I saw it in the cinema, didn't love it, didn't think about it again. So I'm not coming into this having seen the first 10 minutes, but or recently. But watching just that minute, I just feel like it's that trope of the 80s movie where you go in and you've got the boss behind the desk at the police thing and you have an argument and I think there's a kind of when filmmakers, especially younger filmmakers who do stuff like this, they get a real joy. There's something sort of fetishistic about, I'm making a scene like those movies that I grew up and watched. And I think they kind of feel that's enough, but it's just not. It's just not engaging enough. You've got that sting of RoboCop music in there. You've got someone says Murphy to remind you, hey guys, it's Murphy. You know Murphy. You guys love Murphy. It's just this, but the whole thing sort of beige and bland and
derivative.
It just doesn't have as strong a vision as, like, Verhoeven's just nuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he's just a wacky guy that always just gives you crazy 80s indulgence excess, and this has all washed out. So it just doesn't. I just see it as really bland.
It really is bland.
I don't know why you wouldn't go crazy over the top, but then also this isn't a hard R movie. They want to introduce this to a far broader audience.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what other PG movie they could sort of template it on, what kind of tone they could have gone for. Because the remake that we have in our, or sequel, that we have in our minds is, no, you just literally just bring RoboCop back out of storage.
Yeah. Our idea is you're making a soft reboot RoboCop remake type of thing, but it's still Peter Weller, he's still RoboCop, it's just that he's been in storage for like 40 years. Like, the timeline for the movie is weird enough as itself because it's supposed to be like in the mid 21st century, so it's supposed to be like 2050 to 2070 thing, so it's like add an extra 40 years on top of that, so maybe it's had the 22nd century, and like, either things have gone to shit or RoboCop's being come out of retirement for something. Either way,
I would like a kind of Demolition Man scenario where RoboCop has been brought into this very sterile, sanitized world. That would be great.
But Peter Weller didn't even want to do RoboCop 3. Why is he going to go and do your bullshit?
Because it's a fantasy scenario and anything's possible.
I mean, what does he even look like these days?
He would have done RoboCop 3. He was too busy doing Naked Lunch because that had run over.
Ah.
Because he's not like Tom Cruise. Like, he doesn't have Tom Cruise money. I'm sure he looks like a man of his age looks, just like the way
he
that...
kind of looks like, well, kind of like Clint Eastwood, actually.
That's okay. We just give him a new rubber mask. You know, that's
Yeah.
that's an in-universe explanation.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. It's RoboCop, man. It's like Batman. You got a chin, you can go and be Batman. Like,
That is literally why they cast him.
you don't need to... It's not like there's only one guy in the world that can play Batman and make it work. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, in one of the previous minutes, I did say that I want Paul Bettany to play the new RoboCop. So yeah.
We did. That was pretty much it was.
He's already played a robot. What's the joy in that
Yeah.
for him?
Because it's my.
So he's suddenly the go-to robot guy, and then next thing you know, he's the talking bin at Disneyland.
Hey, that's a good gig.
Don't crap on my dreams. I don't know what's James Spader doing.
Oh yeah, again, typecast.
Okay, no. You brought this up. You know, who would you cast as RoboCop?
It wouldn't even fucking matter as the guy. Is he a man? Does he have a chin and a mouth? I wouldn't cast someone that was
You've
missing
got to cast for chin.
was
You've
missing
gotta
a
cast.
Carl
was
Urban.
missing a didn't have a chin. I wouldn't cast Benedict Cumberbatch. Can you imagine what that? Imagine what that'd look like.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't work.
No, the funny thing is they were looking at doing either Rutger Hauer or Arnold Schwarzenegger for the role, except for the fact that like Arnie was way too big, like literally and figuratively, and
that makes no sense. He's already a monster. He doesn't need to be.
He would look like a freaking. He would look like a transformer. He would look like fucking
a literal
Megatron
tank.
in the RoboCop armor.
Yeah.
Just a chest all the way out to where as far as your arms can reach.
Someone did a deep fake of Arnie as RoboCop in the end scene with Dick Jones. It's a little bit eerie.
Oh yes, I did see that.
Yeah. Okay, that person is a moron as well.
He's
no,
simple literate.
The reason they cast Peter Weller is they wanted a good actor with a very defined chin line and lower jaw.
Yeah.
I am not
well,
joking.
Where would we ever find a good actor with a defined chin?
Oh,
All the Batmans.
We'll have to dig up Peter Weller.
Yes.
yeah. Let's dig up Peter Weller. He needs to be in more movies. Damn it.
Well, that's like when all the nerds are like, "Oh, Nathan Fillion should be in this. Why isn't Nathan Fillion in this?" If Nathan Fillion was that good, he would be in a movie, let alone all the movies.
He should play Nathan Drake.
Nathan Fillion is a TV actor. I think even he knows that. I'm not trying to sound condescending or anything, but Nathan Fillion is good in the roles he does in TV. I don't see him as a movie actor.
Nah.
I was saying, like, if he was good, they would work with him.
Yeah.
It's one of the, like there's definitely these I think I've mentioned before, those sort of cult actors, you know, your Jeffrey Combses, your Bruce Campbells. They're never gonna be.
Bruce Campbell wouldn't have been a good chin for it.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. But yeah, they're never gonna be A-listers. It's just not what they're made for.
And because apart from like a, small group of vocal people, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I do completely agree with you.
They've got about as much of a following as a YouTuber,
Oh,
maybe
God.
less.
Yeah, there you go. But fucking PewDiePie to be RoboCop.
You know, done, sold, got it.
God. I think that wraps it up then. We'll definitely have more to
All right,
say.
that about covers it.
Sorry, yeah, you got your line.
Yeah.
So, being the guest, where can we find you, Luke?
Guys, go to dungeonsanddrongos.com and get in on a live play Dungeons & Dragons adventure set in Fantasy Australia. I'm the DM. We've done 140 odd episodes. Every 2 episodes is a whole adventure. It's sort of like episodic TV. It's improv comedy and it's a lot of fun. So don't be a nitpicking moron or a loser. Put your deep fake on hold and get on and listen to that.
Would you call it a critical hit?
I don't know what any of that is.
It's when you roll a d20. Yeah.
It's definitely a critical hit.
Yeah, the crickets say enough.
Yes, and Luke.
Yes, and it is a critical hit.
Okay,
it puts the S in critical hit.
Okay, we just rolled a 1 on this joke. The D&D nerds will get it.
If you're a nerd, don't even listen to it. It's just for cool people.
Yeah.
It's
Cool
a
people
bunch
who play
of,
D&D.
It's two hot guys, two hot girls, just fucking broing out, and just smashing it.
You know, I'm just going to cut out the broing out part.
Yeah, I on the other hand have no standards. I'll take anyone. Just go to traviandesigns.com, look at my stuff, look at my pods, look at my Patreon, which is also Travian Designs. Yes.
I guess I should do this. Although no one gives a shit about my podcast called Kung Pao Enter the Minute. No one gives a shit about that. No, check me out at Fanboy Crossing. Do all the other things. I have Ko-Fi, Patreon, but who gives a shit about that? Look,
Go buy him a coffee. Buy this man a coffee. He's awake
Yes.
editing all the time because he doesn't want you to hear him rifling through his notes.
No, I can just add Foley for that, man.
There we go. You got to hear behind the curtain.
Behind the curtain.
I'm moist. It's ASMR. I'm into it.
Please like, share, subscribe. Please like, share, subscribe this. We're now finally on Apple Podcasts as of this recording.
Yeah, give us some reviews. Tell us how terrible we are.
Are you on Spotify? We're on Spotify.
We're on Spotify as well. And
Oh,
Google's.
there you go.
Oh, jeez, they'll let anybody on.
I know,
Yeah.
right? They let us on. I got my other podcast approved on Apple. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's because I'm in it, and they're like, "Oh, this guy. Oh, we know.
yeah,
See, he
yeah.
checks out. Yeah.
The person that's on every single other minute.
Oh, it just throw a stone at a Movies by Minute podcast. I've probably been on at least a few minutes of it.
Yeah. So but definitely please help us out. Give us some of your audience views. I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway,
Smash the like
Please,
button, subscribe.
please help us.
Please.
We
I'm
need
begging
you.
you. My children need wine.
All right, I think that's
I think that's it. Thank you very much, Luke. And we've still got
Cheers.
two more. We've still got 2 more minutes of this shenanigans to go with you. So
Oh,
please stick
excellent.
around. But until then, we'll see you next week. I was waiting for a Robocock.